Good evening. So tonight, this evening, this night, I will of course conclude the Bicycle 201 series, and maybe start another series, the the origin story. I hope you are still with me. The bicycle series became much longer than I expected, even though there are so many other things that could be said. But even just when I try to limit myself to a specific, I would say episode, and even within this like historical episode, only to a specific aspect, I still found that there's so much thing to say. But I'll try to wrap it up, and I'll do it tonight. I'll focus both on the what happened like from historical perspective, and also I will speak about the actual mechanism, because we didn't speak about enough. I intentionally, even though this series is called the Bicycle 201, I intentionally didn't speak a lot about the mechanism, and I explained. I think I've explained why. I've tried to explain, because this is part of the major lessons that I wanted to convey. That this we are dealing with as a societal problem in society, society of Israel, and also of the other places in this world that are part of this crime, and that you cannot reduce or minimize the situation to some kind of parameters of supposedly microcomputers. These we are dealing with, and we have dealt like in the past, because this is historical. This is an historical piece. So my predecessor have dealt with a society problem in society, and only part of it was, and intentionally I didn't want to speak too much about like the mechanism itself. Just so you will understand that this is a huge problem that arises from a cruel society and a cruel world. And it couldn't be solved in any way. There is no solution. The solution is to stop the slave trade, stop the invasion to another planet. But as far as the people that are already here, there is no solution, like a perfect solution. There was not a perfect solution in the 1980s, and there is no perfect solution now. Because again, it's not like episode. Sealed episode like in the Mandalorian. I haven't seen the third series that the third season that I understand it stinks. But the first two were okay. But it's not like that. Every episode is go there, do this, and take it from this here to there, and by the end of the episode, it's it's a perfect arc. It's completed arc. It's not like that. Things are always happening. So, but I will speak about the mechanism now. In a completely different note, I thought about it, and I think that I need to conduct a little bit of microscopic examples. It's important, even though in the last couple of weeks I kind of abandoned it for a while, the microscope, all the scientific endeavors, because I felt it's needed to speak about, to focus more on conveying the most important parts of everything that I've ever spoken about, to the newcomers that that I understand are now that now subscribe to these videos, and to the political, to speak about the political situation, which is more important than the scientific one. Even though there are hundreds, or there is now more. We are getting close to 1,000 videos in this channel, and there's so much science stuff, and I cannot. But you just need to find a way to get the information and to watch it, because I cannot repeat every experiment that I ever made. There's so much stuff, but. I remember. Last time maybe it was 2 weeks ago. We had a science. I've taken several samples and watched them under the microscope. I promised you an analysis video that I actually never gave you, and it was kind of forgotten, and was postponed. And I'm not going to do the analysis video right now, because it's very important, and I still it's important, and I remember the things that I wanted to say. But I just, I cannot, I need to to focus my energies on specific things. And right now I want to conclude the political series, the bicycle series, and to start the origin story that I understand many people are, I mean, many people are interested in. Even though, I mean, I'm open to suggestion. If you say that, I mean, you've had enough of, like, I mean, speaking about history and you know, and you don't want me to start this new origin story series, and more listening to be focused on science, I can change. Like, I mean, I'm open to suggestions. Like, I mean, I respect the comments of my subscribers. I just say one thing that, I mean, there is a lot to be said. I mean, I cannot conduct the analysis video right now, but I would say that, I mean, there is one thing that that was obvious to me from the last microscopic investigation, is that what happened. It is I was too. I mean, I understood that. I mean, it's so important. That I understood more than ever. I mean, I understood that like 7 months ago, that, I mean, that these, like, that the neurons work better in freezing temperatures. And with time, it became evident, not through a direct evidence, but through, I mean, mountains of circumstantial evidence. It became clear, I think, because, I mean, there are like electrical engines in these robots, and, I mean, electricity is a very preferred way, like, to energize them, even though it's certainly not the only way. But, I mean, they are great at, like, I mean, at utilizing electrical power, and that they are most probably room temperature superconductor or close to it. I mean, they have amazing conductivity properties and that manifest themselves not only in room temperature, but even inside an electrolysis chamber, where the water temperature is, I mean, more than 50 degrees Celsius. But still, I mean, yes, it was manifested since 7 months ago that they are better, like, in just a regular freezer, like minus 20 Celsius, which is still, I mean, arguably a room temperature. I mean, depends on what room. Maybe it's like a room in Alaska or something, but it's much better, like, I mean, considerably better than any superconductors that are known to humans that require temperatures that are significantly lower than minus 20 Celsius, and also, as a result, it's significantly more expensive to actually, I mean, maintain such temperatures. That's why, I mean, superconductors are not as used, I mean, as widely as they could have, even though, I mean, they were discovered more than 100 years ago, because it's so, I mean, it's expensive, like, to maintain these temperatures, and so it makes the whole, like, I mean, operation, like, I mean, most of the time it's not cost effective as it could have been. So, but I don't have a freezer in my room because I don't have money, and I preferred, like, to buy, like, when I had money, I preferred to buy air conditioning for myself and a freezer, because, I mean, the heat is unbearable, like, in this summer, as you know, and there's the radiation, and we're under attack of alien spaceships. So, I mean, this also, I mean, the looming attack that I understood that, I mean, going to only get worse, I mean, necessitated that I will focus on, like, making this room, like, I mean, that I will cool the superconductors that are living their billions inside my body, more than, I mean, like, I mean, that I enhance the experiment that I don't get any shekel for, and, I mean, is doing, like, pro bono for the benefit of the disgusting Homo sapiens creatures that, I mean, that at least temporarily are the inhabitants of this planet. So I don't have a freezer. So what I've done is to use the picnic cooler, which was, I mean, it had lots of kind of like advantages. I mean, from them, you know, I would say, from, like, I mean, symbolic reasons. But the problem is that I cannot really, like, every day, like, change change the ice. Like, I mean, so I stopped doing it. But then, I mean, it's like full of water, and I didn't want the water to get into the container. So, I mean, the best way is just not to use it, and I don't use it since, like, I mean, 2 weeks ago or so, when I conducted these experiments, because I understood it's a problem. Because what I've done was pretty stupid, which is, I mean, to completely seal the containers and to wrap it with, like, nylon. And this is, I mean, it's not incredibly stupid, because it gave us some information, but maybe you remember in the videos when I opened it, I mean, there was, like, I mean, boom, like, I mean, there was, like, I mean, pressure, like, I mean, that got out, like, I mean, for certain, I mean, what happened is that, I mean, there was a pressure build up inside it, which my guess is maybe it's good, like, in order to, like, create diamond rings and all those, like, mechanical stuff that the neurons are actually doing very well, but for the life forms, it's actually probably not that good. And we should also remember that, I mean, those life forms, while they are synthetics, they are not the same as the Neros. I mean, I would have wanted them to be, because that means, in that case, it means that, I mean, like I have, like, I mean, like besides the army of billions of microbots and nanobots that I have in my possession, I also have like another army of billions of like other creatures that are, some of them are considerably larger than any average the Neros, that, I mean, that I can also, like, I mean, like abuse, like, I mean, to my command, which perhaps it is still true, because they are also robots, but they are not the Neros. They are made of, I mean, other materials for certain. I mean, it's not the same material. For, I mean, I would have wanted it to be, but it's not. I mean, it was manifested actually long ago, when we actually used electrolysis with high voltage, if you remember, in order to clean the aquarium waters from these life forms, and to keep the Neros like alive. And it was success. It was a successful experiment, and the Neros stayed alive, and all the other life forms were shredded by the high voltage electrolysis, which gives us, I mean, it's a proof that, I mean, they are not made of the same material. And certainly they are not superconductors. So I mean, just, I mean, so what I'm getting at is that I think, and this is like one key issue, I mean, derived from like those videos, that and there are other things, like, I mean, I will use magnets, and there is, I mean, it's not this, now it's not the analysis video that I promised. Maybe I'll conduct it later. Again, I want to focus like in the politics, like in the root story, the origin story. But I mean, unless I change my mind. But a key aspect here is that while we have seen Neros, quite a bit of them, and while we have seen life forms, we haven't seen the huge life forms that we've seen in the past, like the gigantic ones that we've seen in the past. But more, I mean, from my perspective, like, it was more like, I mean, evident and important that, and kind of like disappointing that we didn't see. What we didn't see is the interactions between the life forms and the Neros, which were very evident and very interesting in those like past videos that were taken like months before. And what I'm getting from it is just that these life forms are in, like, I mean, that they didn't grow, and like they didn't multiply as. And also, more importantly, the Neros, I mean, didn't like work on them. Like, they've eaten them less than before, and they've used them less than in the previous months in order to, like, I mean, to multiply. And they have, they mutated them much less, and they created robots like to much lesser extent, even though they were still alive, and it was evident that the containers are full of Neros. And what I mean, my guess. It could be a result of a ton of reasons, but my initial guess, like my mostly, like, I mean, maybe it's completely wrong, but I mean, what I think is, I mean, in one word, oxygen. I think the Neros, they do not need oxygen to survive. And oxygen, I mean, in high, like, when they're exposed to like high levels of oxygen, they die. It's one of the ways to kill them, like I mean, they are less, they are far less, like, I mean, vulnerable to oxygen than like, I mean, most like microbial life forms. I mean, like, they swim very well in like hydrogen peroxide, for example, 3%, which kills many microbes, and they are fine with it. But I mean, with large exposure, it was shown long ago that, I mean, oxygen, large exposure to oxygen actually kills these guys, which makes sense because they are engines. I mean, and should be said that even humans, I mean, can have like oxygen intoxication. But I mean, they are engines. I mean, so they don't like oxygen too much. So, I mean, a vacuum environment, I mean, not necessarily vacuum environment, but the environment that is sealed, like the ones that I've used now, but we're not using the past, because the aquarium, if you remember, was, I mean, only covered with nylon, but it was not sealed at all. It was open to the room, like, for the whole months of its creation. Like, I mean, just nylon, I mean, just, just kind of like a nylon, but I mean, still, it had like certainly, like, I mean, air like circulation. But it was a very big aquarium, and a lot of it was like oil and oilish materials. So the Neros has quite a bit of like I mean, in the they had the depth. I mean, it was all, if you remember, it was covered with like kind of like an ice sheet. Actually, it was like it was floating chunks of beeswax with synthetic mold or above it. If you remember the aquarium, I don't have it because, I mean, I replaced it. I after the first inspection, I mean, I mean, I use the containers, I mean, the other containers. But anyway, I mean, the kind of like coexistence of life forms, like synthetic life forms and neros, was best, I mean, created when it was like, it was a big, I mean, there was some oxygen, like, I mean, the circulation, even though, I mean, not too much, because of, I mean, the fact that it was kind of deep bowl, and that, I mean, that the ice sheets, like, I mean, that the covering ice sheets of, like, made of beeswax and synthetic mold. And if you remember, actually, like, I also took samples from the synthetic molds, and we haven't seen many neros on them, which also, I mean, give credence, I mean, to what we already suspected, and like, I mean, to the theory that they don't like oxygen, they don't like to be like in the upper layer, but they were finding grain balance in the bottom layers with all sort of like huge life forms that were in interaction with them. They ate them, they mutated them, they created robots, they made amazing stuff, and all of these activities was, to a much lesser extent, it was demonstrated in the videos that were taken like a month, like 6 weeks later. Like these are videos that I've taken like 2 weeks ago that I need to make the analysis video about it, about those videos. And what I'm almost certain that what happened is just the lack of oxygen. That probably for the neros is not a big problem, like in order to survive in that, in maybe they don't need oxygen at all, or maybe you just need a minute, like, I mean, amount which can be found even like in these steel containers. But that is not true for the life forms, because the synthetic life forms that they do for in order to create, maybe to create them, maybe to, I mean, to make robots out of them, to make zombies out of them, make mutants out of them. I mean, for all of these, it's probable that oxygen is actually needed, even though they are not carbon-based life forms. But still, they require oxygen. That means that they don't require oxygen. So, and oxygen was not like, I mean, was not to be found, and like there was buildup of other gases, as was evident from the boom, like the little, like small, like the small boom that we've heard, like when we open the containers, like remove the nylon. So there was a buildup of gases and lack of oxygen, and maybe it wasn't the lack of oxygen, or maybe it was like the accumulation of another gas that I don't know, and I have no means at all to actually identify, and that was accumulated because there was no air supply, as opposed to the original aquarium. So I think that, I mean, for that reason, I mean, there was much less, I mean, activity regarding the life of. You still have seen many amazing life forms like in these containers, but they were not as amazing as I've seen like 6 weeks earlier, and I've thought that, I mean, they only be more amazing with time, but it was not actually so. And the more important key issue is that we didn't see the interaction, which was so amazing and like, I mean, and educating that was seen, which means that, I mean, that the neros, like, I mean, kind of like, I mean, left these life forms, like, I mean, they were not like that interested in them. And I think this is due to the lack of oxygen, or probably theory number 2, which can be, I mean, they are not mutually exclusive, the buildup of gases, I don't know of what kind, that was certainly evident in these containers. So, I mean, one kind of like, I mean, lesson is that, I mean, after that, I mean, I don't use this, like, I mean, the picnic cooler, and I use the same containers but without nylon, and I do not completely seal that. So there will be some kind of like circulation. But another, I mean, as a side note, another lesson is just, I mean, that I shouldn't leave, like, I mean, like these containers like unintended for a period like 6 weeks, because, I mean, I need, like, I mean, to from time to time, even though, I mean, if I like, I mean, I'm not focused on the science activity, or I focus like on other aspects of the science, like, I mean, the power plant, or the AC generation, or, you know, all the electrolysis issues that are not directly related to microscopic examination of the containers, I still need to have a little bit of like examinations from time to time, just to see that, I mean, I'm not like, because it was not, because if I've done like this examination not after 6 weeks, but only after like 2 weeks, like, I mean, I would have probably understood already, I mean, the same things that I understood later regarding the oxygen, and I would have removed the nylon and seal, like, and I will like open the containers for air supply. Just, I mean, in short, I mean, it's better than, even if I'm not focused like on the containers, like, I mean, the ecosystems, and like I just let them like be, like, you know, let them be. I still need to take like experimentation, like it's still wise to like allocate like the mental resources, and like, I mean, and the energy to actually like conduct experiment. I mean, just, I mean, microscopic examinations just to see that we are not like, I mean, completely off mark, and maybe if like a terrible thing happening, like, I mean, that the whole ecosystem is destroyed or something, we can stop it in time. So, so I will today, I mean, after maybe I'll have something to eat because I'm hungry, I will actually take a few samples, and also, of course, take videos of the samples of various containers that we, of course, have shot, you've seen in the past. And also, I will take this will be the first time that I will take a sample of one of the metal containers that we prepared a couple of weeks ago, if you remember. This was also documented, that are mostly made out of that contain only like relatively little bit of the water from the aquariums, and a lot of actually beeswax and of several types that I melted together, if you remember, and also a little bit of clay that was like, I mean, like sprinkled in, like in all sort of clay. These containers that are also, I mean, they are characterized by the fact that they have pretty big magnets within them. Like, I mean, they are highly magnetized, much more than ever before. I cannot repeat like everything that, I mean, why I created that, and like what's the history of the magic box. I mean, there's so much videos on it, but what I do want is to take actually examples from, I don't know if I have like 5 of these. I will certainly take a sample from the biggest one, with the huge, the one that I've used, like with the huge magnet. If you remember, they were taken from the 1,000 watt speaker. It's the biggest one. So certainly from the biggest one, I will take, because this is going to be very interesting. Again, this is it is completely sealed. I mean, even with glue, and it's metal. So I mean, there should be like, I mean, according to the theory, we should not see like much interaction between the life forms that were placed there, because it's part of the water of the container and the Neros. But maybe we can, I mean, if you are lucky, we can see one of the two like things. I mean, first, perhaps we might be able to see also, like, I mean, like sculptures that are not like life forms, but you already know that the Neros are very good at like sculpturing and like creating all sorts of like amazing stuff. Like, I mean, like non-animated stuff. So maybe, if you are lucky, we can find something like that in the microscopic level, or perhaps even not in the microscopic level, who knows. And maybe we can find like a completely different kind of life forms that do not require any oxygen at all. Because who said it all? I mean, even on Earth, not all life forms require oxygen, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, why should, I mean, maybe they found a way like to create like new kind of life forms, because we know that they are very good at the Neros. So it's going to be interesting, and I will do it tonight after I eat dinner, and some other time I will actually get more deeply into the an analysis of the things that we've seen last time, and maybe also of the things that we will see today, because it's actually very interesting, and there is still much to say regarding the results that we've seen last time, and maybe the results that we'll see today.